We ready?
Go ahead.
We're ready? Here we go. Hello, everybody. Ta-da! Nobody guessed that in the chat, did you?
I don't think so.
We were watching the chat. Everyone thought it was going to be Silk Song, except a new Katamari game came out last week. I don't know why you're not all talking about that. We could have teased that that it was a highly anticipated sequel to a favorite game from years ago, and then they really would have thought it was Silk Song. So, if you're confused, Google the King of all Cosmos and the Queen of all Cosmos, or the King of all Cosmere. Is Ollie here?
Ollie's there.
Yep. And of course, we have the Prince of the Cosmos as well. So, this is our costume. Poor Emily, she keeps getting stuck in pink blonde.
I was Princess Peach. I was Isabelle from Animal Crossing. There was another one that was blonde.
Yep.
Too.
We keep picking blonde. You just, don't play a lot of video games, and so I end up picking these things. I've told her that she can pick the theme some year, but we always wait till the last minute, and then I'm like,
and I don't play
we'll
video
do
games,
this.
so I don't know.
You don't have to. It doesn't have to be video games, but it has been before.
It's kind of funny to make it video game. That does limit us.
Yep. So what we're going to do, Ollie, you can pull a chair over if you want, so if you don't have to stand there. I'm gonna sign pages.
I'm not.
Okay. I can't see because I can't really turn my head. The King of all Cosmos needs not to turn his head.
You have to say we need not turn our.
Oh yes, we need not turn. What's that, Ollie?
Do you want me to sit next to you?
Whatever you'd like. You're totally welcome. Or you can just sit off camera so you can play with your phone and then occasionally move pages. I know you. You can sit and play on your phone while you're on screen, too. You probably will be talking on the chat, won't you?
Yeah, I was checking the chat back there.
I may have to take these gloves off. It's still kind of hard to open letters.
So
with gloves.
you should all go play, once you're done with Silk Song, go play Once Upon a Katamari. I love this game series, and not enough people play it. So we only get like a new one every like 8 years or something like that. So we had a new one right when we moved in our house in 2009
or 2010?
Yeah, somewhere around there. And I think there's been one in between then.
You didn't play the one in between, did you?
I think I did. Well, there was a mobile game I haven't played, so because that's only on Apple, and I have Android.
I have Apple.
So, what have people sent us?
All right, we have a lovely letter from someone who says that their favorite character is Bastille because she is fearsome and stubborn. And my favorite book in the series is book 4, The Shattered Lens.
Well, excellent.
And this person asks you, what is your favorite book of the series, Alcatraz versus the Evil Librarians?
I think my favorite is the second one. I like the ending of the second one the best, both the real ending and the fake-out ending. If you aren't aware of the Alcatraz books, they all have a fake-out ending, meaning if you switch to the last page and read it, it's not actually part of the canonical book. It's just a fake last page to make people who skip to the last page of the book confused.
And do you remember when you read the first Alcatraz book to me?
Yes, I do remember that.
It was when we were dating, and he
Yep.
would read a chapter and then take the manuscript with him, and I was really mad because I wanted to read the end of the story.
That's right. That's
And
very
so
hard for you.
One time I tried to kick the manuscript under the couch so he wouldn't realize where it was, but he saw it and took it away for me.
Do I see fan art in that? Should I?
Yes.
There's a.
It looks like a picture of Bastille. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's fun to get actual letters.
Yeah, this is one of the funnest things we do all year is to open your letters to us. We get a lot of them from teens. I wonder if they're required to write a letter, as sometimes.
Some teachers
Yeah.
have their classes write letters to an author or somebody in publishing or someone who has a job they want to do or things like that. That's kind of fun. This is a long letter. Let's see, what would be a good thing?
Ollie, just like the prince is cleaning up my messes.
That's what the prince does.
This is very unstable.
Let's see. This person says that I'm not sure if I've had bad luck with what books I've previously chosen to read, but I constantly found myself picking out the books with the most obvious ending. And then they read your series and really enjoyed it because the endings were not obvious.
I do like to try to avoid them, though. You know, sometimes you do want the obvious ending. That's why sometimes you pick up a book wanting a specific ending.
That's
So,
true. Yeah.
We
There are
will read
times
the
when you don't
whole
wanna be
thing
surprised.
later.
I always
Better.
read them all.
Emily, do you want them to throw me a question from the chat while you get a letter
Sure,
ready
that's a
so
good
that you
idea,
can
'cause
read?
Sometimes it takes
Yeah.
a while to open these and decide what to read on stream.
And chat, I am here as backup, so I will be your voice for chat.
Yeah, so if chat has a question or something you want to throw at me, Donald, or just a comment they've made, that gives Emily a chance to kind of look through whatever she's getting ready, and then...
Yeah, I will absolutely do that. So chat, please feel free to throw in your questions. Brandon, I will leave this one up to you.
Okay.
What is your... Oh, actually, here we go. Well, we'll do this one. What is your shoe size, Brandon?
My shoe size is 12 and a half, is that correct, Em? Or is
Depends
it
on the shoe.
11 and a half?
It's 11 and a half, 12.
11 and a half to 12. All right, yeah, somewhere around there. I am 6'1", and so I have relatively large feet, though. Wemby, what did we find out Wemby's shoe size was?
I don't
It was like in the 20s or something like
Yeah.
that. It was
That was
incredible.
insane.
Yeah. When Wemby visited us, that's a basketball player. So what do we got there, Em?
This person says, my version of Earthiru is inspired by the work of Laurent Gapillard. It's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, that is really cool.
And this person says, thank you for healing and inspiring so many like me.
Ah, well, it is my pleasure. Thank you for the cool fan art.
That's always really fun.
Donald, what else we got?
Let's do the next one that I saw, which is what keeps you writing even if no one reads them? What is your inspiration to keep writing?
Even if nobody reads it?
Yeah.
So I did this for many years. When I was a new author, I wrote the 13 novels before I sold one. You really have to love the act of creation, the act of taking the blank page and turning it into something. That is the driving force behind all of my books. Now, I do really like an audience. I like watching Emily respond to a book or things like that. But the initial joy just needs to be the enjoyment of creation. And as I've said before, I use progress bars to show how I'm doing. Really, it's a spreadsheet with percentages. And having a spreadsheet with the percentages just helps me feel like I'm making that progress every day. I'm creating something, I'm building something, and it's getting closer and closer to being done. That just feels really satisfying to me.
It's kind of your version of the child's sticker chart.
Yes, the child's... I have never had it described that way. We are amused.
It says, Dear Brandon and team, thank you for inspiring authors and artists like me to always stay curious. And here's
Oh, look, that's a cool picture of In.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Ollie, don't worry if you run into me. We're all a little awkward here. You're totally fine.
I
You're
don't know
cool.
how the king and queen and prince of costumes
Yeah.
do all of this. It's a little bit crazy.
If you didn't run into me now and then, I would assume, oh, and I just ran into the microphone. I'd assume that we didn't make the costumes correctly.
The next one that I saw is what's your favorite sci-fi book series? Can you pick one?
Sci-fi book series. Now, that's an interesting one because I have a lot of very favorite standalones, right? Like a lot of people, I'm boring. Dune is probably my favorite science fiction book of all time. But up there with it, Fire Upon the Deep. Honestly, Project Hail Mary from just a few years ago is in the Pantheon. It's one of the best science fiction books I've ever read. I tend to prefer Speaker for the Dead over Ender's Game. I'm one of the people that does that. But best series is probably still Foundation, I would say. Again, not a very exciting or interesting answer because it is widely regarded as the best science fiction series of all time, but consistency through the whole thing, it's either that or it's robots, right? Like, I love Dune, don't get me wrong, but the whole series is a trip and a half.
I
And
only read the first two.
yeah, that's what I'd go with right now. If you had to say, it's still probably Foundation. But, I recently reread Foundation, and it's really good. But, modern science fiction is also really good. When I read Foundation, it was one of the very first science fiction books I'd ever read. And I was like, nothing could ever be as cool as this. It's the same thing as when I discovered Michael Whelan's art. I'm like, nothing can ever be as cool as Michael Whelan. And I think a lot of the crop of artists that grew up after Whelan are really good, equally good. It's just that he was ahead of the curve, so to speak, the same way that Tolkien was ahead of the curve in fantasy.
We talked about this before, that
Yeah.
sometimes you read something that is kind of inspires a lot of people after. But if you don't read that person first and you read the people after, then you read that person's work and you're like, oh, they're derivative, and they were the original and everyone else was copying them.
But I still think Asimov is very good. It's just I think everybody that's learned from him is also very good. So,
Well, I would hope that people learn from someone and then improve. That collaboration makes everything better.
yeah.
So we have a wedding invitation, and they say it would be an honor for you to light up our wedding celebration.
We probably missed it by many months because because we open these once a year. But congratulations! What was the name? Oh, they'll know because of the Sill thing.
Yes.
If they watch.
I'll say first names if people want. I just want to make sure we don't
give
out
too much
anyone online.
in identifying information.
Yeah.
It's bad to dox people.
Yeah, that would be bad. There is a picture of the two of them eating chowta and lit up by stormlight.
Well, that's delightful.
So you'll enjoy looking at that later.
Yeah, I think maybe people are way more likely to have Brandon Sanderson Stormlight-themed weddings than George Martin-themed weddings.
Let's hope
I'm
so.
just going to guess.
I'm inclined to agree. Brandon, the next one I got for you is what are some of the next genres that you're wanting to explore? Like thoughts on exploring other genres?
Yeah, so I famously read some romance novels lately. I actually started this before Romantasy really took off, but now it's like a thing. And I hadn't read a lot in that genre. I've read a lot in most everything else, right? I've read a decent amount of mystery, detective things, maybe historicals. I often say that a lot of historicals feel like epic fantasy. They feel the most like epic fantasy of anything that's not epic fantasy.
Did you read Westerns when you were a kid?
I did read some Westerns when I was young, yeah. Maybe not as many as I should, right? I grew up in Nebraska, and so Louis L'Amour books were part of like the curriculum you read in school.
Yeah, I went through a big Louis L'Amour, Zane Grey phase as a teenager. And then I took a Western American literature class in college, and it was actually really cool. I have a letter for you, a great letter. It says, Dear Mr. Sanderson, your Alcatraz versus the Evil Librarians books are awesome. And let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Wow, a
exclamation
10!
points.
Exclamation point, awesome.
Even more awesome than a unicorn. So awesome that I read them way beyond my bedtime.
That feels very nice. One of the best compliments you can give us, don't listen, Ollie, is when an author has you read past your bedtime.
Who would do a thing like that?
Yes.
And there's a picture of Alcatraz and Bastille.
What'd you say, Ollie?
Like the...
I've definitely never read past my bedtime.
Nope, you probably didn't do it like last night even.
Yeah. I love the frown on Bastille's face
Yes,
here.
Bastille is a bit grouchy. That is one of her defining characteristics. If you had to put up with the Smedries, you would be grouchy too.
Yeah.
It's not that she's naturally grouchy, it's an occupational hazard.
Brandon, do we want to keep this spoiler free?
Yeah, let's keep this spoiler free.
All right.
I'm sorry, guys, but this is a lighthearted one. Spoiler stream will probably be on around my birthday. Maybe not on it, but we'll probably do one for my birthday at some point.
Awesome. There you go, guys, just for some of the questions that I've been seeing.
Yeah, try to keep them out of the chat too. Sorry, I didn't warn you on that, so don't feel bad. But let's keep those down. They're just people are here to see me in a goofy costume and to have us read fan mail from kids who have drawn pictures of Alcatraz and or people who are eating chowder at their wedding.
That's a very interesting spectrum of experiences.
Yes.
This letter says, I am 6. What book are you writing right now? Are you writing volume 2 of Tress of the Emerald Sea? I really liked Hoyd. So can you please make another Tress in the Emerald Sea book? I really liked it. It was amazing. It was my favorite. I've written 2 books. They're called Problems, 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 and Much More Problems. But my mother typed them for me. I love you, bye.
6 years old.
Isn't that awesome?
Okay, that's an overachiever. 2 books already at age 6. Actually, Ollie, you wrote something, yeah, when you were around that age. Yeah, but what am I writing right now? It is not, so I don't plan to write a sequel to Trust the Emerald Sea. I am sorry. But there's always a chance that Hoyd will write more books. And, or rather, he tends to tell them in person and someone else writes them down. That's always a possibility, but I am working on right now Mistborn Era 3.
Alrighty. I'm a little biased on this one, but this should be of no surprise. Brandon, what is your 3-color magic combo that you always go to?
So Esper is my 3 colors. I go blue, then I'm most likely to add black, so I go blue, then Dimir, then Esper. I am known to do a little of anything, though, right? Like, if I'm a little at sea in a draft, then I'm just going to end up in mono red or red black aggro because it's an old standby. Good old red deck wins. Nothing beats it, right?
That's exactly right.
Yep.
And I understood some of those words.
Well, I think we'll grab another one. How many of your kids are Cosmere experts?
How many of my kids are Cosmere experts? I would say that none of them are experts, though Oliver is definitely the closest. He will be there eventually. Where you said?
I'm getting there.
Yeah, he's getting there. I would say that Dallin, my middle son, is far more of a Percy Jackson expert than he is a Cosmere expert. In fact, I don't know if he's read any Cosmere books. He's read the Alcatraz books.
Yeah, he's read Alcatraz.
Joel has read most of the Cosmere books, and he's the eldest. But he doesn't tend to expertise in things. He tends to enjoy a lot of different things. Whereas Dallin does expertise in things, but Percy Jackson was his go-to book series.
All right, I need someone to cut this for me.
I will come with the scissors.
Oh, wait, I think, I should have known.
You did it.
Mem
did it.
Prepared for me.
Well done, Mem.
Awesome.
Ooh,
This looks very fancy.
it is very fancy. Okay, so this person says, I've been trying to write a fantasy novel for over a year now. As a fledgling writer, I had no idea how to properly undergo such a task, and there was a lot of research and experimentation involved. Earlier this year, a friend introduced me to your books and mentioned that you post writing lectures online. This was a game changer for me. Not only did I enjoy your books immensely, although admittedly after plowing through the first 4 books in the Stormlight Archive, I'll need a good long break before tackling Wind and Truth. But your lectures helped me with world building, plot, setup, character arcs, along with other nuances required to write a good novel. And this person said they finished their rough draft around a week ago. Doesn't have a date on here, so I don't know how long ago that actually was. So they wanted to thank you with a replica from the Stormlight Archive.
Oh, nice. Look
And
at that.
they chose
It's that
Sunraiser.
Sunraiser. Yep.
And because of Shalon's sketch in Rhythm of War.
Well, that's very cool.
And it's actually,
Nice.
yeah, there-
Yeah. That is really well done.
yeah, it's really pretty.
Thank you, person from the internet.
Awesome.
Sounds like, thank you, random citizen.
You know, when people yell out to me, I think it's a thing now. Whenever I'm on stage, someone will yell, I love you, Brandon Sanderson. So I have to yell back, and I love you, random citizen. It's a Megamind quote.
Yes.
I love it. Brandon, what, in your opinion, makes for a good alpha reader? What are the things you're looking for in those?
All right. So for me, alpha reader is separate from beta reader. Alpha reader, and so what you're probably wanting is what makes a good beta reader. But alpha reader, in case you use my same definitions, which are not industry standard, an alpha reader for me is an industry professional who knows how to look at a story and understand what it's trying to do and be able to offer fixes. I often use the metaphor of on Monsters, Inc. DVD, back when we had DVDs. They had a behind-the-scenes thing where they showed an early render of the movie. And they talked about something that really resonated with me, which this was an early version. They didn't have the hair, unlike Sully yet, right?
Right, I remember.
And it looks so terrible because he doesn't have the hair. And the person offering the commentary said, the interesting thing is, an animator knows this is 99% done, but the rendering of the hair takes so much work by the computer that it's easier, it's way better for us if we can show this to someone and say, hey, where are we getting the anatomy or the movements wrong? If you show this to an average viewer, they'll be like, I can't, this looks awful. But you give it to an animator like, oh yeah, this is almost here. Look at this step here. It's a little too floaty. Can you add more weight there? Look how this, and you can get an expert who can point at problems before they manifest or, before it's finished. An alpha reader is someone like that for a book. Someone who looks at the book and knows, for instance, an early draft, you're going to fix all the typos. The early draft is going to be more telly, and it's going to be more long-winded than usually a final draft. They're not going to tell you, hey, this is a little telly and long-winded. They're not going to get distracted by the things that up front you say, hey, I'm going to fix this and this and this, and they can look at it and they can offer fixes.
They can say big problems.
Yes.
High-level problems.
Even they won't get distracted by the small things. A beta reader is just a test audience. Beta reader is a dry run at if I were to release the book in this state, what would the average reader say? And it's really valuable for me, for a beta reader, to not try to fix anything. All I want from them is to say, this is my authentic experience reading the book and how I feel about it, so that I can gauge if that's what I want people to respond, how they want to respond. So if you're a beta reader, just don't try to fix things. If you're an alpha reader, you got to be able to ignore the small problems and really see what the book is trying to do and be able to offer fixes that don't make it more like you would write it, but instead a better version of what the author is trying to write.
It's always interesting to me that, beta reader reactions that are negative are sometimes really helpful. You would think, oh, someone doesn't like my book, that's a problem. But there are times when you want them to have that reaction.
Right. And you never want someone to not like it.
Right.
But sometimes you do want them to be frustrated with a character while you're waiting for that character to actually, get to where they're making the right decisions. If you don't have that frustration, then you might be doing something wrong.
Here's a letter from a 15-year-old girl who says, I really love the complexity of your plots and how you don't fully explain the magic system in the first book of the series. Reading your books is almost like a treasure hunt, where you uncover new bits of lore every time you read. The line, there's always another secret, said by Kelsier, is the perfect way to describe your books. And I love them for that reason. Thank you for writing great books.
Well, thank you. It is my pleasure, my honor. Thank you for the drawing. It looks like there's a drawing on the back.
There is a drawing, it looks like, of a poco.
Oh, I thought, oh yeah, that's one, I thought it was the allomantic symbol on the other side.
There is an allomantic symbol on the other side.
Yeah. So, but yes, there's a poco as well. I didn't see that.
This person must be an artist and an author.
Brandon.
Yes.
What's been your favorite twist in a book, movie, or game? Or any that stand out to you?
Some standout twists. I mean, like a lot of people, spoilers for The Sixth Sense. The Sixth Sense was one of the best twists ever. Partially because I guessed the twist in the opening scene, and then the movie made me forget and convinced me I was wrong, and I discarded it. And then when the twist happened, it was like I got doubly embarrassed because I had guessed it, but then the movie was so good at convincing me that that it wasn't that by the time it happened, I was surprised again, particularly with how Shyamalan showed each moment where that reinforced it that I could have picked up on. So like a lot of people, that's probably the best one. It really was powerful and meaningful. Followed by, Unbreakable also had a really excellent one. So 1-2 punch of excellent twists by Shyamalan. Ender's Game did work very well for me as a young person reading it. I did not get the twist of Ender's Game, and it is also an all-timer. So there's a couple.
Cool.
I have another letter for you. It says, Dear Brandon Sanderson, my new favorite book series is Alcatraz versus the Evil Librarians. I love this series because it shows people that you can turn weird and quirky things, like breaking things and being late, into useful talents. Please write more books for elementary students. I want to be an author when I grow up.
Oh, well, thank you.
And this is someone who is age 7.
I am glad that the Alcatraz books are still being discovered and read, because I do think that message is a really good message. A lot of times it's like the things that we're best at also hold us back, and it's not about expunging them from yourself. It's about learning how to use your natural talents for your advantage rather than holding you back. So, yeah.
Well, I think using your talents in interesting and different ways.
Yep. We still have someone do something in my life who will be like, I'm like this. I'm like, wow, that would make a great Alcatraz talent. Or someone will say, my Smedger talent is this.
Yes.
Or things like that. Donald, what you got for me?
Let's do. Sorry, as I quickly look to it. I'll modify this a little bit. Do you ever plan to write about baby choles? Is that ever going to be a part of it, or will we ever get artwork for it?
Baby choles. I will put that on the list of things to get some artwork for. I was not planning to write very much about it.
There you go, guys. Emily, do you want me to take another one, or are you good to go?
No, I've got a letter that's a fun one. This person says that they were inspired to try writing by reading your books. So one day after school, I picked up a pencil and started writing. After rereading the prologue, I found it quite bland. So I turned on the audio version of Skyward and was immediately inspired to keep writing. Thank you so much for doing what you do. I could never live without your books.
The first thing you try to write in a story is often not the best. You got to write your way into books, even if you're a planner like me. So just keep going, and always remember, once you finish the book, you can go write chapter 1 again and make it good this time. I did that with Skyward.
Yep.
Threw away the first chapter, not the prologue, but chapter 1. And there are actually like 3 different versions of it before I settled on one.
Alrighty. Ollie, I've got a question for you. Ollie, what is your favorite book currently?
What's your favorite book currently? Doesn't have to be mine.
It actually, Skyward is probably my favorite book.
You're reading
Skyward, probably followed by Percy Jackson and then Mistborn, and I am currently reading Mistborn. I mean, not Mistborn, Stormlight.
Yep.
So
Stormlight's a bit much for you, though, huh?
I don't care.
The other day, Ollie had 2 Stormlight books in his backpack at the same time. And I was like, what are you doing? Because it made it so huge and heavy.
I had a copy of Wind and Truth that I was going to get signed. So, because one of my friends wanted it signed. So.
Still, that's a really heavy backpack. This person says, there are only a few times where I've been full-faced grinning with goosebumps while reading, and the part where, maybe I shouldn't say it, spoiler, but a Dalinar part was one of those. And this person also says, my dad and I aren't big talkers, but we've often found common ground in our reading. And this person said that they sent their dad a copy, and then their dad called them right after the same scene that they had been so affected by, which is kind of cool.
Awesome.
I love hearing stories of how reading helps families find common ground and enjoy things together.
For the chat, just so you guys know, we're not asking Emily the questions because she's pulling out the letters. We're trying not to distract her. Unless you would like
No,
to
they can ask you a question, but...
Yeah, Emily, if you'd like to take questions, I've got a couple for you. Well, the one that just passed by me is, what has been your favorite book you've been reading so far? Or
My
so
favorite
lately,
book
I should say.
I've been reading so far.
Lately, I should say.
lately. I don't know if I could say. I haven't really read anything fantastic lately. I went through a N.K. Jemisin streak and read all of her stuff that I hadn't read before, and that was pretty awesome.
Yep, she's very good.
I went through a.
Did you read any Lee Bardugo when Lee came into town?
I did,
Yeah.
actually, yeah. I went back and reread a lot of Lee's stuff. I already read all of hers, but I went back and kind of looked through them and reread them.
Because Lee is fantastic. So
Lee Bardugo is a fantastic author.
Awesome.
You've been reading some cheesy romance novels
I
lately.
have. I wouldn't say they're excellent. They're good. They're good distractions. Sometimes there are really good things about them. But I've gone through a historical romance phase.
Yeah, because you really spoke highly of that one Regency writer who also wrote mysteries.
Georgette Heyer.
Georgette Heyer, yeah.
Yeah, her books are fantastic.
But that was now a year or so ago that you were reading those.
It's been a while. Mm-hmm. Yep.
This is giving me a crick in my neck, so I think when Howard arrives, I will.
You should
We'll take it off?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds like a plan.
It's very odd because it shouldn't give me a crick in my neck, but I don't know. It's like my body has to naturally sit in a certain way to try. I don't know. It's. Yeah.
Maybe you need a wig like mine. It
Yeah, I need a
kinda
wig
holds the
that holds it in place or
edges on.
something.
This person says, thank you for writing the Alcatraz versus the Evil Librarian series. It's so nice to finally read a nonfiction book.
Yep.
The librarians at our local library don't know certain words like bequeath. They also don't know what a basilisk lizard is.
Do they know what crap-a-flap nasty is? That's what I would ask
That's
you.
a very good question.
For those who don't know, the Alcatraz books are nonfiction books. They're written by Alcatraz and published under my name to hide them from the librarians. Yes.
This person says, being free from librarian control is, well, it's liberating. But I think the most helpful information I glean from these books is how to best describe fish sticks.
Yep. The word is crap-a-flap nasty, everybody. The funny thing is my mother, the goober, was visiting last week, and I reminded her why that is. Like, one of my earliest memories is going to daycare. I must have been, we determined, I was chatting with her, I must have been 3 years old.
Yeah.
And I can remember going to the Lollipop Farm, it's the name of the daycare in Lincoln, Nebraska. Goober would drop me off at Lollipop Farm, and I liked Lollipop Farm at first because they let me play with blocks. They had good blocks. But then they made me take a nap, and I did not want to take a nap. And I was very grouchy about that. And then the worst thing ever, they fed me fish sticks, and you had to eat them. And my lifelong disgust and hatred of fish sticks began in the Lollipop Farm when I was 3 years old. And I had to make sure the goober knew that I did not approve of the Lollipop Farm after that experience, no matter how good their blocks were. So,
They just couldn't get over
naps and fish sticks I was 3 years old. I was big, grown up, and I did not need a nap.
Fair enough. Emily, what is your radiant order?
I am a bondsmith.
Yeah, we both got Bondsmith on the quiz.
Kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I can see that in some cases.
It's a very eldest child, take care of people sort of
Yeah,
order.
It really is. Okay, I have a letter for you. This person says, I really love your novels. Mistborn Era 2 is one of my favorite series ever. I have never loved a character more than I love Wayne. I really adore how he has a balance of tragedy and humor to him.
That is Wayne.
This person also says, Wayne is a lot like me, and I love how even though he's really weird, his crew still tolerates him.
What would life be without Wayne? Well, thank you for the letter. I appreciate that.
Oh, and look, this person gave you a
Aw.
paper crane.
There, I got you. Right there. Yep. All right.
I think it's if you fold 1,000 cranes, you get a wish. Is that what it is?
I think so.
What is that from?
Just like
Yeah.
Just
like
one of those things?
Then-
tradition. I don't think it's from
I don't know
anything.
that it's mythology.
Yeah,
And there's a middle grade book about folding 1,000 cranes.
Yeah, look it up, Donald,
a good
and see where the origin of it is. But I remember hearing it when in Korea, someone was trying. Someone I knew there was folding 1,000 cranes in order to get a wish or something like that, I think is what it was.
I will happily look this up. Or chat if you happen to know, but I'm Going to do a quick one. It looks like this is a Japanese practorial tradition derived from ancient folklore.
Okay. So I'm, I guess I didn't fold it, so I don't get it. But I was going to say I was 1/10 of 1% there.
Or this person was, because they
Yeah.
folded it.
Alrighty. Do we have time for one more?
Sure, go ahead.
Brandon, what's the best Halloween candy?
Oh, boy. What is the best? So we're going to have two definitions here. One is, what do I want to get in my Halloween bag when I'm trick-or-treating? Like any candy that people give away. And I'm going to go with the peanut involved ones. It will bounce between a Snickers and like a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. Don't look at me like that. I'm like Batman. I have to turn my whole body to see. Oliver is allergic, and so he tends to give me glares.
He gets upset with us when we even talk about anything with peanuts in it.
Yeah, but I wouldn't call that a Halloween candy. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Like, are the Halloween candies like candy corn? And what else is a Halloween candy?
Brock's Mellow Cream Pumpkins.
Brock's Mellow Cream Pumpkins. Those are gross, and candy corn's gross.
I love them.
Are there others? Chat, tell us if there are others.
Just
Like
Halloween.
How about Reese's Peanut Butter Pumpkins? Do they count?
That is seasonal.
That totally
I would
counts.
say
If they
so.
count, then they win.
You like the white Reese's, like the
I do like the white Reese's.
Yeah.
I like both Reese's, but I like a variety of Reese's. But if you're going to give me two, I'll probably eat the white one first.
Okay.
So this person is a mere 7th grader.
Okay.
And I have chosen your book, Mistborn Secret
Thanks,
History,
Ollie.
for a school project.
Oh.
And yes, I've read the Mistborn trilogy prior to this book.
Good.
I love this book because it was so complicated, yet fantastical at the same time. I didn't like reading until my sister recommended Mistborn. And then, let's see. My teacher asked me to find a character that I'm similar to, but I can't really find one because they're too exciting and I am too boring.
I'm there too. I'm pretty boring. People ask if I'm like my characters. I'm like, no, I'm an author. I sit in the basement and write books. I'm boring. So we are
This person
similar in
also
that regard.
Says, I just read The Emperor's Soul and it was amazing. You should write a 2nd or 3rd book.
I do have an idea for an Emperor's Soul sequel. I don't know if I'll ever write it, but I do have an idea.
Oh. Mm-hmm. As a fan,
I've mentioned that
that's exciting.
before. People know that. Mm-hmm. It'd be another novella.
Very nice. Very nice. Going to another question. This is a non-spoiler one. If you could meet any character from the Cosmere, who would it be?
Any character from the Cosmere, who would it be? Sazed.
Ooh, okay. Why?
Why? Sazed's very wise, and he would tell me things that I need to know.
Very fair. Let's see. Looking at our chat. Do you still plan on writing 2 sequels to Elantris within the next couple of years?
Maybe, maybe not. I'm gonna play it by ear. I have a lot of movie stuff, nothing I can announce, and so it's not very far along. But I've been working on treatments and screenplays and things like that, and that has sucked up more of my time than I anticipated. And because of that, I'm not 100% sure on where those are. I want to make sure that I get the Era 3 done, and I want to make sure that I get to Stormlight at a reasonable pace. So we'll see. That's the answer is we'll see.
There you go.
It's a good answer. This letter says, Dear Mr. Brandon, I am not pleased with the fact that there is no 7th book in the Alcatraz versus the Evil Librarian series. Please get to writing. If you insist on not writing, I, a 12-year-old who is out of whiteout, please excuse error, will pathetically attempt to do it myself. Your books are awesome. Looks
Well-
like this person was trying to do some typing
Yes.
on an actual typewriter.
Nice. Well, Alcatraz is being stubborn, and he has not agreed to write any more books. So we'll have to see, but it's probably a no. But I do approve of fan fiction, so if you want to write it, you are more than welcome to write the fan fiction. How are we doing? We seem to have gotten through those pretty well.
We're doing pretty well.
Yeah.
Awesome.
How you doing, Ollie?
This is so uncomfortable.
This is so uncomfortable, is what he said.
This I have to wear it on top of my
You are
head, so it's
suffering
digging
for
into
your
my
art.
head.
Oh.
You just have like something that
Yeah. Tell me this: is this better than going out and getting candy?
Probably.
Probably.
I'm still gonna go get candy, but this is fun. So.
Well, you're getting paid for this, so you can just go buy your own candy. The last time I went trick or treating, I was in 7th, maybe 8th grade, and you're in 7th grade.
Oh no.
So you're giving up on it earlier than I did. So you're more mature.
I'm still going trick or treating tonight.
Are you gonna go?
I probably.
Okay.
Just our neighborhood, probably.
Yeah, you get back. You could maybe convince mom to take you, because after the first hour, we'll have Howard Lyon showing up, and I'm going to do some art. So maybe Emily will take Ollie so we can go do some trick or treating.
There you go.
You can justify it all the way up, I think, through 8th grade. Though I went trick or treating at 8th grade with my friend, and our voices were changing, and we were getting taller, and we're like, maybe not. Maybe we're too old for this. But then you get to go trick or treating again when you're in college.
Oh.
Yeah, you just go to the other dorms or things like that. So
There you go. Please,
go ahead, Em.
You're going to like this one. It says, this person combined two of their favorite things, the Cosmere and Magic the Gathering, and created their own commander deck using names and art from Cosmere stories and assigning them to actual Magic cards.
Oh. Wow.
So
That's
and
pretty cool.
and They have...
Oh, did they send me some?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's pretty
I'll
cool.
have to look that over.
Yeah.
That won't make a lot of sense to me. But they have it all explained, which cards they used and what they gave them.
I did peek into that one. It seems they sent the entire deck list. So
Yes.
What's that?
Whole
they
deck
sent the
list.
whole deck list.
They sent the deck list. That's
Yes.
great.
See,
I do love
I
this stuff.
wouldn't have known.
That'll be a nice treat for me as a reward.
Alrighty. Going back to our questions. Open to the table. Favorite Halloween movies?
Nightmare Before Christmas. And before you say anything, it's both. Things can count in two categories. I mean, I'm not a huge slasher film, but I do like John Carpenter, so I do like Halloween itself. It's just, I know it's slow and boring, but there's something about it that I really like. What else counts as a Halloween movie? I mean, I think my favorite horror movie is The Ring. I think it's like legit scary.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, I don't find most Friday the 13th or slasher flicks scary. Scream is really good, but I don't find those like scary. I thought that The Ring was legit kind of scary. And I don't consider like Sixth Sense a horror movie. I consider it a suspense movie, so I don't know if it counts. My family all likes Hocus Pocus, and I have never seen it.
What?
Yeah, it stars the Sanderson sisters, and I've just never seen it.
And I wouldn't say I necessarily love it, but I mean, I am a Sanderson sister.
You are now a Sanderson sister. My sisters stopped being Sanderson sisters, and you became one.
We still claim them.
So it used to be, because I have two sisters and my mom, it used to be my sisters and my mom were the three Sanderson sisters, and then they both got married, and then we got you and Kathy, and so now we have two different Sanderson sisters.
Yep. This person says, I have some questions. First of all, what does Wax sound like? I imagine him having a Southern cowboy accent, but other characters, other characters like Wayne and Marcy are written in a way that suggests British accents, even though Wayne is from the Roughs and Marcy is from the estates outside of Ellendale.
Yes, I would probably, so to us, they would all probably have French accents. But that's not a good representation. Like the language there is based off of French and things like that. Vin and Kelsier would also have French accents. But if I were going to do a Wax impression in English, it would be British. And actually, he wouldn't sound. So his whole thing in the Roughs was he was the gentleman lawman, and he would have kind of an upper crust British accent, whereas Wayne generally is going to be a little more Cockney. But I blend a lot of Australian into Wayne as well.
Yeah.
But the truth is, they would probably all sound a bit French.
You have...
And that just would sound wrong to people because Though Luthadel was 1820s France, I really pushed Ellendale into early 1900s New York. But it's got the canal systems of something like Amsterdam. So yeah, it's a big mismatch or mashup, big mashup.
Cool.
That's the cool thing about fantasy is you can do all kinds of mashups that would never happen in real life.
Yep.
This person says, I love your Alcatraz versus the Evil Librarian series. I'm listening to the graphic audio versions with my daughters while driving, and I'm enjoying the books a lot too. I have ADHD. While ADHD does have its gifts like creativity and stamina, it can be difficult to appreciate those gifts when they are so often overshadowed by its challenges. It is heartening to hear a story about characters with silly, dysfunctional curses who learn to bend the curses into superpowers.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. The Alcatraz books are very good read aloud, so they likely make very good audio books for the family as well.
Moving into the questions that I've been seeing, what sort of music have you been listening to lately, Brandon?
What have I been listening to?
Yeah.
Well, I did, like everyone else in the country, go through a K-pop Demon Hunters phase. It was actually pretty decent workout music. But there's not a lot of songs on that album, and so I went through that pretty quickly. Lately, I found some epic music playlists on Spotify, and I've just been listening to those as I slowly build a Stormlight 6 music playlist.
Cool enough.
Always has a lot of Thomas Bergeron, however you pronounce his name, the Two Steps from Hell guy. You can't go wrong with any of his albums. They're just all fantastic.
I have to agree.
Yeah. A lot of the epic music gets a little samey. Like they use the same repeated, they all stay at one level for the whole song, and I don't like that.
Like one
I like
volume
it.
level?
What's that?
Like one volume level?
Yeah, like one emotional level. And he makes more like, they feel more like soundtracks. While there's epic songs, they go many different places. So I like them.
Awesome. Emily, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, this is our last thing.
Our last thing.
okay.
Great.
I'll read the letter first and then show you what it has. Dear Brandon, I hope these reach you in time, but I started this project late. My daughter, who is just as big a Wheel of Time and Cosmere fan as I am, is at her first year of school, all the way in Ireland. I made these ornaments for her to take back to Dublin and thought you might appreciate a set as well. We met once at the signing in Philadelphia for Memory of Light. I had the first question in the Q&A about making Quendiar chainmail.
Yep.
Quendiar.
I think it's Quendiar.
Both of
Oh,
our
boy,
youngest
it's been too
children
long.
are within a few days of each other. The rescheduling of the signing for the birth of yours is the only reason I could attend. I wanted to thank you for taking up the mantle Robert Jordan left.
Do you hear that, Ollie? It's because you were born that we
That
put
this
off.
guy got to go to a signing.
Yep. So.
And it looks like the ornaments are radiant symbols, and they are, what would you call these? Are they?
They look like Christmas ornament type
Yeah,
things.
but they're wood cut. They're I think they're burned.
Yeah. They're very cool.
They are very cool.
We should use some of those on the tree if we sponsor a tree for
Festival of Trees?
festival trees. Sometimes we do that.
Yeah. That would be
Put some on our tree as well, of course.
I don't want to put them.
Thank you.
In there 'cause I don't want to break them. They're very pretty.
So what time have we got?
We got about 8 minutes until 7.
8 minutes. All right. Well, that's you can guys can throw some questions at me and Emily.
Yeah.
Ask her about her favorite video game. She's only played one in her entire life.
I played more than one.
What have you played?
My Singing Monsters.
Did you do that like to actual play it, or
I
just
did.
because
I
your kids?
actually played it.
Okay.
I don't know if it's really a game you finish, but
Yeah.
I mean, I actually played it myself and had my
Okay.
own island and fed all my monsters and stuff. Mm-hmm. And then I got bored and stopped.
Right now you play Finch. Is
Yes,
that a
I
game?
do. I don't know if it counts as a game. It's a self-care app. Mm-hmm. But kind of,
How to hack it.
Yeah, my kids hack it, and so they don't have to do any. The thing is, you set your own goals and then get points and things for completing them. And the goals are things that sometimes it's hard to do if you're having mental health issues. Like, I mean, you can set any kind of goals, but.
Yes, Oliver may have gotten a hold of your app and changed your goals.
Yes, he did.
Do you want to tell them what you put on as Emily's goal that popped up with a buzz on her phone each day?
Okay, so I know my mom's password, so I was able to get onto her phone and learn how to add a goal. So I added a daily fart session that will appear every day on her goals. And
So-
she wasn't able to figure out how to get it off for like a month.
So every day for a month, I got a reminder to have a daily fart session.
Yep, yep. You got a high five from me on that one. That was pretty epic.
I live in a house of boys. It's kind of dangerous sometimes.
Yep. So you've been doing Finch. You told me that your Finch bird was on a quest in a
Yes.
haunted mansion.
Yes, that's the adventure for October. It's interesting. I mean, this is a silly little app, but it was actually recommended to me by a psychiatrist, and it has
Sorry,
some
Ellie.
pretty good principles with it. So sometimes you have to gamify things in order to make yourself do things you don't want to do. So.
Did you put on that you get points each day now that you're not reading too late to keep you up all night?
That's true. I should.
You should put that
I should
on.
make a goal for not reading until 4 a.m. and then give myself points for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who would
She-
do a thing like that?
She may have locked down her phone.
I did. I had to put downtime on my phone and then make Brandon choose the password so I wouldn't know it, so that my phone locks at 10 p.m. and I can't open it again, because otherwise I will just read until 4 a.m.
Until I come to bed at
Yeah.
4 a.m. And then she will quickly hide her phone and pretend to be asleep so that I won't make
What?
fun of her.
No, who would do a thing like that?
Never.
Meanwhile, I'm coming to bed at 4 a.m. already, so where do I have to...
Meanwhile, I have to get up at 6:30.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really stupid. Don't do that. It's a really stupid thing to do.
I may have inherited that.
Uh-oh. Do we need to lock down? Well, you don't read on your phone. You read books. We just need to take all of your books away, I guess.
Yeah, we can't... Yeah. Imagine us taking books away from someone.
No, it wouldn't happen.
We both did that.
We did.
They've heard the story how I started a book on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
I've seen that book.
You've seen that book.
When I was a teacher, then I would always see my kids reading in class, and I would have a really hard time taking away their books because I read in school all the time when I wasn't supposed to be.
Yep.
I was in math class and reading Little Women behind my math book, and there's a sad part, and I almost started crying in my math lesson and was really embarrassed and had to put it away.
Yeah, and I read by candlelight and maybe got the book a little
Because your
too
mom
close.
took away your flashlight, right?
Goober took away my flashlight. Yeah.
I love it. Emily, I think this is a good one to end on. Do you have like a favorite Halloween story about either your kids or your own childhood?
Well, my favorite Halloween story is we're talking about being too old to go trick-or-treating. And we hit a point, my siblings and I, where most of us were too old really to go trick-or-treating. We still wanted to, but my mom was like, no, you're too old. And so she told us we couldn't go trick-or-treating. Instead, we were going to make a spook alley in our basement.
I love this story.
And, our basement was unfinished at the time, and so we really went to town and got black plastic the kind that you put on gardens, and stapled it to the beams and made walls and a passageway, and I was a witch with a cauldron and with dry ice in it, and my brother, was a monster, and we got a bone from the butcher, and we made his arm look all scary, and people would come and he would growl, and anyway, so we thought we were so cool, and we charged, I think we charged 3 pieces of candy to come to our spook alley. But people would come to the front door and trick or treat and get candy, and then they'd go around to the spook alley. And then we had so many trick-or-treaters that my mom ran out of candy. So she came and took the candy that we had been collecting for our spook alley and used it for trick-or-treaters at the front door. And when we finished, we had very little candy, and we were so disappointed.
This is such a your mom thing to do. Maureen is just...
She is
Yep.
very practical. I think
Yep.
she was glad because she didn't like it when we had tons and tons of candy. And I mean, we were disappointed for about 5 seconds, but really the fun was running the spook alley and seeing all of our neighborhood friends and scaring them.
My favorite Halloween story is still, to this day, how Dallin, our middle son, who is at home giving out the candy right now, so well done, Dallin. He's holding down the fort for us while we do the live stream. When he was younger, he has always liked spooky things, just a ton. And he loved zombies. He still loves zombies. And so he would do a really good zombie costume where he would like tear the clothes himself. He'd get like, you know, the scars and the blood. And then he couldn't decide if he wanted to go get candy or if he wanted to scare the kids coming to our house because a new crop of kids came for him to scare. And he would lay on the ground in costume, which was ripped and shredded, shivering because he's so skinny, but he wouldn't move until they got there and they'd be like, rah! And he loved it so much. The great conflict in the kids' mind when they love Halloween is, do I scare or do I get candy? Well, thank you, Ollie. We will now excuse you because we have Howard here. We'll excuse Emily. And I'm going to be drawing, so I probably won't be doing pages now. So have fun. I'll have these guys drop me off so you can head home if you want, okay? Is that okay? I just offered to have you drop me off. Scar's around too, right? No problem at all. Yeah. And I'm gonna take a break from my ooh.
Yeah, I was gonna say I got help.
Yeah, I'll take a break from my headdress. Well, because everyone's gonna be staring at Howard's awesome costume. And we'll take this guy off. We can leave this guy.
Yes.
But my head is getting a crook in it because it just makes it
Little in, yeah.
yeah. So I have changed from the king of all the cosmos to that Muppet that wears one of these things. What's the Muppet guy that wears this thing? It's the guy who throws fish at people, right?
Yes. That's
Yeah.
what I would say. Chat, you will know.
Chat, tell me which Muppet I am now.
Take that off too. If you
I could.
But you like being the Muppet?
No, throw fish at folks.
It looks a little rough.
All right.
Bye, chat.
Take care, Ollie. He said goodbye to chat.
Awesome.
So, Bob Ross mixed with Gandalf.
Yes, Bob Dolph,
Bob Dolph.
the middle value gray.
Yes,
My official name.
that's excellent. I like pun names.
Yeah, I could be like, you shall not paint.
Well, it's Bob Ross, so it'd be like, you shall paint.
You shall paint.
You shall paint.
Happy little Balrogs.
When I was in college, one of my costumes that I really enjoyed is I went as every John Belushi character
Oh, no way.
combined.
Like all at once.
All at once. Yeah. I was very proud of that one. I managed to get basically every a reference to every John Belushi character.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
That's really impressive. So like part toga,
Yep.
part Blues Brothers.
Part Blues Brothers glasses. Those were the easy ones,
Yeah.
right? But they're like I had to do the samurai from. I didn't
SNL.
do every SNL skit, but I know Blues Brothers is also SNL, but I did a couple SNL
Yeah.
roles and things like that. So yeah,
I love it. That's cool. Do you have pictures?
I don't because I'm a boy and we don't take pictures. Many of us. I kind of wish I did now.
I know,
All
that'd
these
be good.
things. Yeah.
You have to revisit that one. I don't think I had very many memorable Halloween costumes growing
Yeah.
up. I have to up my game on that as
I did a really good one as a kid where I was toothpaste.
That's a good one.
And I had a floss thing as my candy receptacle.
Nice.
And I remember really liking that costume because when we were kids, costumes were terrible.
Yeah, just
Right? Like
you kind of horrific.
Yeah, you bought these cheap costumes that ripped
Right.
and had bad masks. And I'm like, I hate this. And my mom's like, I have a friend who makes costumes. Why don't we make you something? And they pitched the idea of the toothpaste. And I was a kid. I'm like, that's great. No one is toothpaste.
No one's toothpaste.
Everyone is a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. Nobody is toothpaste.
Nice.
And it was a really cute costume. I was like, 8 or 9. So,
Well, that's awesome. So,
yeah.
we're gonna draw tonight.
We're going to draw tonight. So why don't you explain to people why we're drawing, and then you can explain to them what we're drawing.
Okay, so if those of you that might remember from last year, I came on the Halloween stream, and we did this to get ready for a live painting event at Dragonsteel Nexus. And we were doing it with the Lightweaver Foundation to raise money.
Yep, for charity.
For charity. So we're going to do that again, except for this year, we've gotten a little bit more specific, and we've got a great list of artists. We've got Steve Argyle, Kari Christensen, Brian Taylor, myself, Dan Dos Santos, Carly Milligan, Caitlin Zepanik, Donato Jankel, and Esther Kandari that are all going to paint.
I always feel so bad for you guys. Like, imagine inviting Donato in, like
Yeah.
one of the great Tolkien artists of all time, right?
Yeah.
Just, he's got such a great body of fantasy work, and then
Yeah.
he has to paint something
He's going
that
to
I
paint over
draw.
the top of yours.
Yeah, so I draw something, and then they paint on top of it.
Yes. And this year, we're going to do your interpretations of magic cards.
Okay.
And you can go
However I want.
Yes, however you want.
You're the art director, and I am the artist, and you're pitching me a card, and I have to draw it.
That's right.
Uh-huh.
So I think it'll be really fun. If for those of you that are watching, if you've seen this event before, it usually produces some pretty cool art.
Yes, very terrible but cool art.
Yeah, very cool. And you get a chance to own something from both Brandon and one of the artists that have contributed to the cause.
I got outbid for a few of them last year.
Did
I
you?
tried, yeah.
Well, Kari's, I think, was the high.
Was that Adolin at
Yeah.
T? That's the one that I've been on
It
as
was
well.
like the cutest thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kari did such a good job making that look good. So.
Yeah, he really did.
It was Adolin having tea with a chasm fiend.
It was pretty amazing. Okay, so there is a list. What I did is I had each artist pick some options, and then you can choose which one that you want to do if you're like feeling, I feel like I could do a good job with this.
Okay.
There's a pen, there's a scratch card.
Okay. So I'll need some more scratch paper. Did you?
Yes.
You bring more of that, or we can get some
I've
of it?
I've got this too, so you can just flip that over.
Okay, I can just do that.
Yeah, or you
Okay.
can use those papers.
All right. This is, yeah. Wait, these are different that they have.
No, they're the same. They should
Are
be
they?
the same.
Oh, they are. My sight line got off on them.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so they are the same. All right. So the first one I saw in here is Brian Taylor's Epic Land card.
Yes. So
Yes.
Brian is not
Yes.
necessarily a magic artist, but
Yeah.
he is one of the greatest landscape artists working today.
Yeah.
And so when I talked to him about it, we decided, okay, let's just come up with a really cool land card. So I was thinking like you could do something that's a little bit surreal, like I was thinking of like my Mana Confluence card, where the landscape's being distorted, or you could do like a plane and keep it fairly simple and let Brian kind of go wild with it.
Okay.
So,
Do we have a pencil?
I can probably.
Yeah, get us a pencil.
you want to do some?
Can I do pencil and then ink over it?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Mechanical work.
So, and
mechanical, totally good.
we'll draw on
thank
these
you.
panels. So
Yeah.
we've got the gesso board panels.
Okay, so I need to do this kind of big to fill the whole thing. Is
Yes,
the goal.
they're gonna be on here. So the scratch paper is really because sometimes those pens sometimes will explode, and so you'd rather explode on the scratch paper than on the pen.
Yes. All right, so chat, if you'd like to ask some questions of our good friend Howard, to keep him talking, or me talking while I'm coming up with cards, that would be pretty cool. So yeah. Let's see.
Are you gonna start with Brian?
Maybe I'll start with Diabolic Tutor because
Okay.
I actually. Let's see. Can you
This is
pull
my,
up?
like, point.
Can
Yeah.
you pull up a picture of Steve Argyle? We're gonna do Diabolic Tutor, and guess who
Guess
is
who it's
pretty?
gonna be?
He's gonna be the Diabolic Tutor.
I love it.
It's gonna be Steve Argyle, he's gonna be Steve Argyle is very good at vampires. He's done a bunch of vampires. So this is going to be Steve Argyle as a vampire, trying to sell magic cards to people like a guy selling cheap pocket watches, but he's going to be selling them the Power 9. He's going to be trying to get them to use.
Oh, so
does that make sense?
like
yeah, the coat open. And so here, so I'm just going to quickly, so we'll have Steve like this, and he'll have a smirk, and he'll have fangs.
Amazing.
And then he'll be like this, and he'll have one arm out to the side, and it'll have drapery and magic cards, right?
9 of them.
9, yeah. So I have to do.
There you go.
And then he'll have the other half of them will be swathed in a magic card, and it'll look something like that. Any suggestions?
Honestly, I think that's fantastic. So
all right.
You can kind of leave the background empty, and then Steve can kind of play with.
He can play with what he wants to do.
Background.
All right. So I'm gonna do that, and let's get Howard a question if we can.
Sounds good.
For those who don't know, Howard Lyon here is fantastic artist. Does a lot of magic cards. Does a lot of fine art illustration. He did the painting of me in the back of the new books that looks so good it's basically a photograph. He has done a lot of religious art, and is a very good friend of ours. And he's been on Intentionally Blank and things like that. So,
alrighty, I'm just gonna switch over to you drawing. I'm gonna really quickly come over them. Possible. We're gonna bring this to the side. Just so you have a little more space.
Okay. And is this visible? Do you think I should do this one portrait or landscape?
I think landscape. I think landscape. The formatting will work better.
And if you need your phone, I can look up Steve on mine.
I'm just going to set it.
I can also pull it up on mine.
I'm just going to set it so my phone doesn't turn off.
Oh, yeah. Because I like that head cock that Steve had in that.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. And just right there, Brandon, is perfect.
Okay. All right. So let's get a question.
Let's do it. Howard, right off the bat, what's new and exciting? What's happening in your life from Hubble Bubble?
Well, from the last time I was here, Brandon shared that I am illustrating a book for him, which I'm very excited about. So
Yes, I showed a picture of it at FanX.
At FanX?
Yeah.
Fantastic. So that's kind of the biggest thing that I've been doing lately. But I'm also a grandfather this year, which is very exciting. I have a 4-month-old grandbaby. My daughter, Belle, had her back in June. So that's been a new experience, being a papa. My wife, Shari, is Nona, and I am Papa. And we're loving getting to spend time with our grandbaby. So between that book and the grandbaby, my life is quite full right now.
Cool. Fair enough. Another one of the questions that I saw for you, Howard, was, what is one of the most beautiful games that you've ever played? I'd also add movies into this.
Oh, okay. Most beautiful game. I mean, Hades is incredibly beautiful. Hades 2 is really gorgeous as well.
Have you've done Hades 2? Because I haven't started it yet, because it only just went gold.
I have just watched it being played. My son-in-law has been playing it, and I've been enjoying watching him play. But going back a ways, I thought Warcraft 2 was a really beautiful game, just put together. Everything just fit. All of the graphics, nothing looked out of place. But that goes back a ways. That was a really gorgeous game. From movies, Far and Away, a Ron Howard movie with Tom Cruise. It was shot in beautiful, like 70 millimeter, just really a gorgeous film.
I was surprised that that's not considered a great film. Like, some people are down on that.
Right.
I really liked it when I saw it.
I love it too. The kind of epic range that it covers and everything. I thought it was fantastic. Master and Commander, I think, is one of the most perfect movies ever made. I think it would have won Best Picture that year had it not been competing with Return of the King, because Peter Jackson kind of had teed that one up with the other two movies, and then. But Master and Commander is just an exceptional movie, and I think that one's very, very beautiful too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I do want to double check real quick. Brandon, are you planning on inking this, or are we just going with the pencil?
What do you think? Am I okay just doing pencil?
If you just do pencil, I can hit it with a fixative, so they'll be able to
Okay,
paint over
okay,
it. So you
great.
can keep it just pencil.
Because I'm much better, I think, with the pencil.
You do get to be a little less decisive with
Mm-hmm.
pencil, which is nice. There's a reason a lot of artists sketch in pencil for
Mm-hmm.
sure.
Yep. We might have you use this small thing. We can't actually see it on camera. If you don't mind, just putting that on there for me. If you'll be able to draw on it.
I won't be able to draw on it. I have to have the flat surface. Yeah.
I'm just going to quickly change that
Yeah.
camera setting.
Is there anything else? Like, I might be able to lean forward more.
No, you're all
Just
good.
that
You
it's
keep
too
drawing.
light?
Yep,
Okay.
that's all. But I will make my adjustments as needed.
Okay. So, I think this is good, right?
I agree. I
We'll
think it's
let
a
him
great
do whatever he
scheme.
wants
Yeah.
with the background.
Yes.
So, Mr. Argyle, good friend of ours, is going to have to paint himself as a vampire trying to trying to get people to take contraband magic cards.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. We'll hold it up there.
Can you tilt it down a little bit for me?
Tilt it down.
Yeah, we'll get that one on the end of the camera stream to make sure they see it.
Okay. All right. So now I need to do Ulamog.
Yeah, that's a good choice. Kari was excited about the idea of you doing something.
I do like
kind of
Ulamog.
epic like that.
So I think we have to put this in the same theme as last time.
Oh, nice.
Right? We need a happy Ulamog.
Maybe raising a glass
Well, maybe
or 7.
Yeah, raising a glass or 7. And yeah. Now, are we okay with me using actually drawing Ulamog rather than?
I mean, it should.
Yeah,
Be no, there is an idea that we use them as tokens.
Yeah. So in that case, I should just draw a Cthulhu monster
Yes.
that is not Magic's IP
I think
Cthulhu
so.
monster. We'll just be
That's
safer
smart.
that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not going to draw it as Ulamog. I'm not going to have my thing open because they have a specific design. It's just a strange Cthulhu monster from
Yes.
beyond space and time.
Absolutely.
And the Cthulhu monster from beyond space and time is going to have pizza
Fantastic.
with somebody. Who will they have pizza with?
Who would?
Who would Ulamog or a Cthulhu monster have pizza with as a?
Would there be something to balance them out, or like a
We had Adolin in the last one. Should we do another Stormlight character?
Yeah.
So
I like that.
we'll have a nice pizza party between Yasna and a Cthulhu monster.
Perfect.
Right. All right. So Cthulhu monster. I'm going to do.
Oh,
a
you're
little
gonna thumbnail
sketch.
again?
Yeah, we'll thumbnail Cthulhu monster. So.
Think of your big shapes. It's
So-
always easier to go from like big shape to the details rather than like start with details. Looking good.
So, and then like giant angry eyes, and then a little smile.
And how many eyes?
Oh yeah, 4 eyes. Yeah, that's looking pretty
Perfect.
good. And then a little smile, and then pizza in each of these hands.
And don't go too small on the pizza slices.
Okay.
So that
Giant pizza slices.
Yeah, do big pizza slices because he's
Okay.
gonna have to paint them.
Okay. So something like this. Is that too much like a?
No, I think you are well into the.
We'll give him some Cthulhu, a chin
Yeah.
of Cthulhu tentacles. They aren't quite
You are
from the mouth,
into
but they're
the
like
common domain for
Yes.
tentacled monsters.
tentacle monster. And then we'll just have a little Yasna with her hair up, who is sitting.
She could be at one of those tables with like the red and white checker pattern on it. You know, like
Oh, yeah.
classic
Yeah.
pizza.
Yeah. And then she's got pizza, and she's got, her safe hand covered.
Yeah, does pizza exist anywhere in the Cosmere that we know of?
No. but maybe Cthulhu brought her the pizza.
Right,
Right?
yeah.
Like, Cthulhu likes pizza.
The rift opened.
So this is what we're going to do. All right. So
Nice big shape there.
nice big shape. And I like this kind of
Yeah,
sort
the
of
furrowed brows.
furrowed brow. It's not hair though; it's a furrowed brow.
Even eating pizza, they look a little grumpy.
Yeah. Yep.
Inside, they're joyful though.
Yep. And then kind of sweeping down like this. And then a little smile. And then angry eyebrows. And 4 eyes. And then Cthulhu tentacle beard.
Nice.
And then tentacle monster tentacles. And then
Oh, yeah. Those boards chew up pencils. You're going to be...
I'm doing that a lot. We'll put that one off so he doesn't have to draw all these. And then some nice floppy
Oh, nice.
New York pizza right here, right?
The droopy nose on the pizza.
Yeah,
Thin
yeah,
crust,
yep.
droopy nose.
And then there's a nice piece of pizza here with it drooping off. And then this one, it's like this.
They're topped with anchovies and existential dread.
That's right. That's right.
Get a really big piece in there.
A really big piece?
Yeah.
All right, all right.
Like, because those details are going to be, those are going to be pretty tiny. Like, yeah, there you go. Perfect.
And then like some gooey cheese.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah. And then down here, in danger of getting gooey cheese dropped on her, at a table is
I like that because of the success of Kari's last year, this is like this will end up becoming a theme for Kari, like a monster and a character enjoying a meal together.
Now that I've fixed some of this these camera problems, we can see it. Your beautiful art piece, Brandon.
Yeah.
If we have questions and such, please throw them in. Howard, one of the ones I saw before, though, was what have you found to be one of the most difficult pieces you've worked on?
I kind of have a hard time with architecture. I feel like I'm able to do it, but it's kind of, I love it. I think that's fantastic. It's kind of like pulling teeth for me. And so anytime I would get an art brief from Magic and it was for the Ravnica set, it was like, oh no, I got to paint 1,000 windows, you know. And so I was always about trying to figure out how I can obscure things with
so
trees.
what you're saying
yeah.
is I need to do Ancient Tomb and have it be 1,000 windows
yeah, that's right.
on this.
Yeah. 1,000 ancient tomb windows. Are you going to do Brian's or are you jumping in?
I'll just do them in order. So Epic
Okay.
Land Card. All right. Well, when I first read it, my imagine of Epic Land Card was a giant stage with a metal band playing on it as a thespian stage. But you said he really wants to do a landscape.
I think it would be, if we keep in his wheelhouse,
Yes,
I think that'll
we
be
should
good.
do a good landscape.
We've tortured Brian for a bit with these, having him, come in and like last time he painted, and it wasn't torture.
Yeah.
But he did M-Bot, like shooting up into the sky, and he did a great job with it.
But better if I can give him a
Yeah.
landscape.
So, but
All right.
maybe like the Shattered Plains with, or a
Can
Thulu
he,
poking up out of the plains.
Yeah. Can he do, let's see. Can I come up with one that, can he do you know Free Fall 7-Layer Burrito World?
I do not, but
So-
it sounds amazing.
I came up with this world of a giant, of a city that's falling constantly through a bottomless hole in free fall.
Amazing.
And Dan named it Free Fall 7-Layer Burrito World for reasons that, whatever. And so maybe I'll just do that.
Okay.
The city.
That
so-
sounds good. It sounds like you told me about a short story idea you had one time of a wheel on a world that was
Yes.
just
This-
always moving.
Yep. And I ended up using some of those ideas. But,
Very cool.
All right, so we're going to just do, this will be, the city is in like 3 layer, 4, well, we're going to do 3 layers. 3
Okay.
layers. 3 layers. And they are falling through. What can I do that will make that it'll be fun for like him to paint?
So some good depth. So think of like
Yeah.
the far background, a middle
Okay.
ground, foreground. And
Okay.
then where's your horizon?
Okay. Horizon. I don't think this
I
place
mean,
has a
they're just
horizon.
falling.
They're just falling. But maybe I'll keep the focus on the 3 worlds, and I'll draw them big so we can do landscapes with them.
Cool.
Right.
Sounds good.
All right. I'm just gonna do something like that.
you're winging
But
it.
We're gonna,
Gonna go a vertical.
yeah, we're gonna do vertical on
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
Does that sound good?
This can be like
So,
promo card.
yeah. So we're just gonna start with one that's like this, and it's got,
Yeah.
and
Well, while Brandon is designing these beautiful worlds, Howard, what are some of the artists you've found you've admired lately?
Did they say living or dead?
No specification.
Okay. Well, some of the living artists who have inspired me, or even recently living, I love Thomas Blackshear. I love Scott Gustafson. James Christensen was someone whose work that I admired from a very young age. I love just his humor and wit in his art. I love Brahms' work and Donato's work and Daniel Santos and really a lot of the artists that are going to be painting at this event. I love the work that they do. For artists that have passed on, kind of old master, William Bouguereau has always been one of my very favorites. His ability to render very subtle value and tonal shifts, I think, is unparalleled, and his drawing ability is incredible. John William Waterhouse, I've always loved for his depictions of Greek myths and kind of that Victorian kind of fairy tales. I've loved his work for as long as I can remember. Just a brilliant artist. Frederick Leighton is one that I love, and he has his most famous painting right now is actually at the BYU Museum of Art, which is really incredible. I've actually flown across the country a couple times to see the painting. When I was 25, I flew to Washington, D.C. to see Flaming June. And then on my 50th birthday, my wife surprised me with a trip to New York to see it when it was at the Met. And now, incredibly, it's like 20 minutes away here in Provo. So he's one of my favorites. I love his painting, Flaming June. If you're not familiar with it, look that one up. It is a stunning piece that you probably have seen, even if you're not sure, even if you didn't know who it was.
Okay. There you go, chatters. Howard, I feel like I have to ask. Do you have a favorite color?
It changes. Right now it's orange. I love orange. I moved on from red. Maybe I got a little more sunshine into the red and it turned into orange. But right now orange is my favorite color.
Gotcha. Why, if there's anything attached to it?
It honestly, it could be because of the painting Flaming June.
Oh.
Because she's draped in this beautiful orange cloth. And I've done a few paintings lately using orange drapery over the figure. But to me, it's not as like in your face happy as yellow, which isn't a bad thing, but it's a very bright and happy color that has a little more depth to it.
Okay. Okay. Well, I see that Brandon is possibly wrapping up.
Yep. So we got, and then we've got 3 levels falling through the air. We've got like kind of a rural one and kind of like a place where they're like doing some mining and and then we've got like a more city-ish one. I don't know. Should I add like sunlight lines coming out from behind it, or should I just?
Oh yeah. So like, there's somewhere there is like
A light
they're
source?
orbiting something. Yeah.
Or they're falling past it.
Yeah, I think so.
So, but this is all like. I don't want to add the motion lines, but it's all.
Yeah, he'll do a good job of kind of
flying.
making sure. It
But
looks,
do you want? Should I add like that so that he can like add the epic light source behind?
maybe
or?
just add the sun where you think it would be, and then he will add the volumetrics and the motion lines.
All right. It might be a line sun,
Oh, okay.
right?
Like a band of
Hence light.
I like it. Now, so would it be going vertical or
They'd be
wanna-
falling past it. So
maybe
yeah.
like a okay.
Yeah.
It's not like a diagonal sweep through it. but
Probably
like-
not.
So right down the middle?
Yeah.
All right.
Are we good with that? Should I add that in?
Yeah.
Okay. You'll have to explain.
Okay,
what
I'll
this is
explain to him. And Brian, of course, did the Tailored Realities cover.
Yes. He did a very good job with that.
Yeah, beautiful
So,
piece. I will give Brian license
yes.
for his liberties.
Yep.
He will stay as true as he can. So funny thing, last year I told Donato, I said, okay, we're staying true to Brandon's lines. And he was like, what? And then after we were finished, Donato was like, you didn't stay true to Brandon's lines. I'm like, I absolutely did. What are you talking about? So this year we'll see if Donato follows the rules or not. He may break the rules.
Now it's Donato. This is this one's intimidating.
Well, you're to me?
Oh, I'm to you. Yep,
Yeah,
I'm to you. I have to
You're
do
to
you.
me.
Okay. All right. Harmless Offering, the famous Howard Lyon.
I figured it might
yep.
be fun.
Uh-huh.
And then Death Shadow and Ancient Tomb are other cards that I've done work
Yep.
for. So, or you can choose something completely different.
All right. I'm going to make you do I am listening to Lord of the Rings right now.
Oh, nice.
So you're going to do Balin's Tomb.
Fantastic.
We're going to do my rendition of Balin's Tomb.
I love it.
Donato is not going to do the Lord of the Rings painting. You're going to do the Lord of the Rings painting.
That is a big task.
And so, and you are Gandalf. So we're gonna put Gandalf on this.
Okay.
Because we put you on.
yeah, that's
you're
right.
one.
I was the mall Santa last year.
And so,
Hoyd.
so we're going to quickly sketch. I don't have to have you
So
right
are
now.
you going to do a close-up, or are you going to do me far away?
You're gonna be further away.
Okay.
So, but you're gonna be reading. So I need you like this.
Yeah.
Yes, because you're reading the book that
Yes.
they yes. And yes, and then there's the great tomb of the fallen dwarf lord, and then there's an archway in the back that they came through, and I think there's like another door over here, and it's dusty, and there's some skeletons on the ground.
3 hours to paint it. No problem.
Yep. So this is what we're gonna do, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Fantastic.
So keep that pose for me
All right.
for a second.
Maybe.
Oh yes, because you've got the staff for light.
Yeah.
So yes. So we'll do. All right.
Paint a happy little tomb.
Happy little tomb.
All right.
I don't know. I don't think Gimli was particularly happy
Yeah.
with the
This is true.
with the discovery of Balin being.
In there. Howard, I have to say, I'm as a fan, slightly disappointed that Avison was not on that list, but I do understand.
Yeah. Well, maybe we can make that happen in the future.
I'll throw my very biased hand in the ring. Let's go back to questions, though, from what I've seen.
You're doing a good job. This is really handy.
Well, come prepared to model.
Yeah,
That's fair.
Well, you're doing this to me, so I'm.
It could be fun. Howard, where did this idea come from? What inspired this journey we've put Brandon on?
So several, I think it's 5 or maybe 6. Well, I'll go back even a little bit further. Back when I was doing a lot of Magic the Gathering events, I offered at one of them, I talked with Steve Argyle and I said, why don't we do a painting demo at one of the events, and we can get someone that's a cosplayer to dress up, or that will already be dressed up, and model for us. And it was a big hit. And then when Steve and I both started doing the Dragonsteel events, they weren't called the Nexus when we first started doing them, we thought it would be fun to bring that to Dragonsteel events. And then talking with Jane with Lightweaver, suggested, well, let's auction these off and maybe we can raise money for a good cause. And the events were well attended.
You can break pose now.
Okay. The events were well attended, and we thought, well, maybe we can grow it a little bit more and bring in some other artists. And so we brought in Kari one year, and the 3 of us did it. And we've had the support of Dragonsteel at the events to help arrange it. And this year, I think, is the biggest it's going to be. We're going to be on the main stage at the event. It'll be Saturday night from 7 to 10 at Nexus. And so I know some of you will be at one of the balls, and there will be other things going on, but come and join us, and you can poke your head in and out over the course of the 3 hours that we're painting and see what we're doing. But that's how it came about, and as long as people are enjoying it, we'll keep doing it. Last year we raised a pretty good amount of money, so we're excited to see what we can do.
You ought to
this year.
have Emily do one of these one of the years.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, that would be fun. You know, speaking of Lord of the Rings, Howard, do you have a favorite Lord of the Rings? If we're going through movie and or book.
I mean, there's only one Lord of the Rings, so he can't have... Your favorite is Sauron. There's only one Lord.
Okay.
I do love the books. How can you not? I did really enjoy the movies as well. They were books that I read at a very young age. I was reading Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and The Chronicles of Narnia over and over again when I was a kid. I love the art direction of the movies. Of course, it can't really compete with the books for just the immersion and depth, and you get into the appendices and everything that Tolkien created for those worlds. It's just hard to even kind of wrap your mind around. But that's fantastic. That's going to be a great challenge. I love it.
Good luck to you.
Yeah. That's going to be a fun one. Very cool.
All right. Now...
we're on to Dando Santos.
Dando Santos. Sengir Vampire, Lord of the Pit, Living Wall.
Ooh.
I think I bolded Sengir Vampire in that one because I think Dan was leaning towards that one.
Was he? We did just do a vampire.
That's true.
We
That's
did
true.
just do
So
a vampire.
Maybe, up to you. Do you remember Lord of the Pit?
Oh, I remember. I had a Lord of the
wouldn't
Pit.
necessarily need.
Quite well.
Yeah.
And so it might be good to do one that's my memory of what a magic card looks like.
I think that's a great
See
idea.
if how well I can do it without
Love
looking
it.
at it.
Yeah.
And then he has to paint it.
Let's do it.
All right. All right. Well, then that I
You
don't.
just go for it.
I
You
can
don't
go
need
for
a
it.
sketch.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Because I think.
Are you going vertical?
Yeah, because I think Lord of the Pit. I mean.
That's okay. I'm going to pull it up, but not show you.
Oh well, no. I need his wings, so I'm gonna have to go horizontal. But I remember Lord of the Pit is like coming out of a hole, so we're gonna start with a hole. He's coming out of a hole
Oh, there's some cool versions
on the
of it.
ground. You gotta look at the original alpha.
Yes, the Mark Tadine one.
Yes.
And there's he's like, it's early fantasy art, so he's gonna have like abs. Right? This is how fantasy art was back then. I'm sure he had some abs.
Everyone was looking at the bodybuilders. Whatever
Yeah.
they did.
And let's see.
Dan is one of the fastest painters I have ever seen work. So I'm excited to see him do this. He did some contest a while back that it was like a 15-minute painting thing. And we'll have 3 hours, but his 15-minute painting was just extraordinary. So we're excited to have him at the event this year.
Yeah. I remember like the arms being like, I'm coming out of the pit. Be scared.
And do you remember his arms being, I'm not going to tell you what they are, I'm just going to ask him, do you remember his arms being tied into his wings, or are they separate from his wings? You know,
they were same with his wings. They were, good call. I think they were part of the wings. So I'm gonna erase this part. He can ignore that.
Yeah, he can just paint right over it.
Paint right over that. I think it was part of the wings.
Okay.
I think it was like, rah, here's my great and mighty wing.
I love how thick his torso is and how skinny his arms are.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
he
fantastic.
skipped arm day, right?
Yeah.
He skipped arm.
He did core.
Yeah.
His
Yeah.
core.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Love it. Howard, while we're doing this, I feel it is appropriate. Do you have a favorite Halloween memory?
You know what? My mom loved pranks, loved scaring us, loved dressing up. And she taught preschool for about 50 years. And every year for Halloween, she would go all in dressing up as a witch. But she did it in a smart way because she didn't want to scare the preschoolers. So she would do the makeup with the preschoolers watching so they could kind of see her transform into this witch. And she very much ended up looking like the witch from Wizard of Oz, you know, on a full green and put a wart on, and, you know, just she looked amazing as the Halloween witch. But I'd say that's one of my favorite Halloween memories because it happened every year for my entire life until probably 6 years ago. She would do that every year. So that's a very good Halloween memory.
All right, there is Lord of the Pit coming out of his pit. He's really excited. Oh, right, you can't see the arms because the wings come around.
But I like
remember
this.
that.
I like
I
seeing
remember
the
that.
arms.
Yeah,
This is a good interpretation.
Yeah.
I don't think you should change yours.
Yeah, oh, and he has that famous mouth. Yep. So there we are. There's my Lord of the Pit.
Dan will have the proper amount of latitude and guidance on this one. I think.
And before we go to the next one, could you really quickly pull out the Steve Argyle one from the bottom? We actually never saw it on camera because it was a little too dark. So, Brandon, you just want to quickly show that off.
Yep.
There's Steve.
Steve.
Oh, we'll want to bring it under Brandon's
me.
camera.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Sorry.
All right.
Yep. No,
everybody.
that's on me for misdirecting.
Steve Argyle as a vampire trying to get me to buy more copies of the Power 9.
Perfect. There we
Yeah.
go. Thank you.
That is the diabolic tutor.
That's pretty diabolical. Okay, on to Carly. We're excited to have Carly join us. Carly is newer to magic, and I don't believe she's done anything for Cosmere.
Okay.
But she's really an extraordinary artist. I met her 10 years ago when she took a workshop from me.
Okay.
And same with Caitlin, who's after Carly and Caitlin were both at that workshop. So that's how we got to know them.
All right. I'm going to do all three of these.
Wow.
What?
Yeah.
All right. This is exciting.
Yeah. So,
This is new territory for the world. 3 magic cards at once.
Yep. Tamio is one of my favorite magic characters, and so we're gonna do a little hillside, and we're gonna have Tamio.
And to call out for the chat, this is Tamio, Chandra Embercat, and Stargaze?
Yep.
Okay.
Amazing.
And I'll have to get like a seated figure so that I can draw that. And then we'll have the little cat. And then they're going to be looking at the cosmos.
My input, I'd love it. My input would be zoom in a little bit.
Zoom in a little bit.
Zoom in a little bit, just so that you get enough real estate to paint Tamio and the cat.
Okay. All right. Let me get seated
It's going to be a very good one.
figure.
The Ember Cat next to Tamio. That's going to be pretty irresistible.
If I, so I need someone seated on the floor. So, like, what do you think? That?
Yeah.
That good?
Yeah.
And I just put Tamio's head on that?
Yes.
Something like that? So, all right. So what we want is
I like your ground plane.
the ground plane.
Yeah, just kind of like they're almost like they're sitting on the edge of a globe, is what that, or like a hill.
Yeah. Okay.
So-
So we're going to come up onto a hill, and then we're going to come down. But then we want Tamio to be bigger.
Just
So-
a little bit.
Just a bit bigger.
Just a bit bigger.
So-
it'll allow for more detail in that time frame.
All right. So she's going to be sitting like this.
Howard, as a non-artist, and you've done quite a few works, have you found it's harder to paint people or animals?
For me, animals.
Really?
Animals, because I've focused on people most of my life. That's what I've loved to do. I do love doing creatures, and so I kind of distinguish creature from animal. Creature being, like monsters and that sort of thing. But I'm not really known for that, and so I don't get a lot of commissions for it.
Except for the fact that the very first thing I saw from you.
What was it?
We talked
the
about
Fralf Giant.
The Fralf Giant.
Giant. Oh, yeah.
That's right. But I'd love to do more. I kind of joke that I did 300 illustrations for Dungeons and Dragons, and like 298 were dungeons and 2 were dragons. I thought for sure I was going to do a lot more dragons for D&D. But people are endlessly fascinating to me, and such a challenge. I'll be trying to improve my skill at painting people until I take my last breath.
Fair enough.
All right. Now we'll put a neck on.
Get that distinctive silhouette for Tamio.
Yep. Get the neck going, and then we're going to go back to Tamio.
Carly felt like Tamio, Collector of Tales, was very appropriate to have you draw.
But now I have to do this head in profile. You know what? I'm gonna go back to the other picture, and then I'm just gonna add Tamio's hair on her.
Nice.
Yeah,
Hey,
I think.
You're working like most artists do. You take whatever references you can find. I'm pulling her up so I can see.
That begs an interesting question, Howard. So I was just getting back to my mic. Where do you find most of your references for whatever you're drawing? Go
Yeah.
on.
I also have a great love of photography, and I've been fascinated by cameras and photography since I was a kid. And I feel like I've gotten fairly good at taking reference. So whenever I can, whenever possible, I hire models to come in and pose for things. Even if I'm painting a dragon, or if I'm painting a creature, I will get out there and try and get into kind of the similar position and pose, and then I get lighting information and that. If it's not something that I can shoot reference for, I will use Blender, and I will build something out in Blender, or I will make it in clay. I've done that with creatures before, where I'll make a little clay model of it, and then I can light it and get all of that information that way. So I go to pretty good lengths to get proper reference for my illustrations.
Okay. On that same note, what have you found to be the most difficult illustrations for you?
Didn't you ask this earlier?
Did I? Oh, I'm losing my mind. You're right.
You're
Architecture.
good. Yeah, architecture is always a challenge for me. But I can think of things that would be more challenging. If I had to do like Charge of the Rohirrim and do 1,000 horses, that would definitely be a big challenge.
Her head is too small. I feel like I need to redo the head.
Here, hold it up. Let's see.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Head is too small for the body.
Okay. It is too small.
Yep.
I was prepared to say, you know what, I think you're good, but yeah.
Head is too small, so we're gonna do a redo on the head. These things are hard to erase on.
They are. They once the graphite gets on there, they want to hold on to it.
So let's do. It's just.
Chat, as always, please feel free to throw in your questions for our folks. I do have a question that's been inspired by chat, though. Howard, have you done much with like manga and stuff?
I haven't. I had a childhood. My parents were super supportive of anything creative that we wanted to do. But my mom was also kind of a mom that I never had comic books. I never had action figures. I never had a lot of the kind of toys that my other friends did. But I always had art materials or crafting materials. And if I ever said I was bored, I got sent outside to the sandbox to go and play outside. And so I never really kind of got into some of those.
I'm gonna toss this one.
Are you?
Give me another one.
Okay.
Give me another one.
All right.
That pose, I can't do the face because I can't. I'm not a skilled enough artist to do a 3/4.
Sure.
And so I need to instead do the pose of this woman who's like looking at the camera. And so they have to be gazing up at the stars. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. I think it's better than maybe you're thinking, but I support your decision.
Yeah. So I'm going to try to instead, actually, I shouldn't have drawn the ground yet because I'm going to start with the head.
If you end up having to redraw the ground plane, that'll be just fine.
Ground plane, I think I can read.
Carly can work with that. So I feel very fortunate in my youth to have had the kind of upbringing that I did. But sometimes I feel like I missed out on some of the influences that some of my contemporaries have had. That's looking good, Brennan. But that's a very long way to say that I've never really gotten into manga. But my kids enjoy manga and anime. And so I've been watching various different shows with my youngest, Alex. And she has a great selection of shows that we've watched together. And then my son-in-law, David, has recommended some really good ones too.
Gotcha. Any that you would recommend off the top head?
I have enjoyed My Hero Academia. That's been a fun show to watch. And then we've been watching, is it just called Demon Hunter?
Is it Demon Slayer? Or is it Demon Hunter is one, yeah.
Yeah. And that one's been really fun. Of course, I love all of the Ghibli movies. They're fantastic. We watched Chainsaw Man, which is pretty crazy and out there.
I've heard the Chainsaw Man is like,
it's wild.
Everyone loves it, but it's wild.
It is wild and over the top and intense. But the what really draws me in is the quality of the animation in that one. I think it's just fantastic.
I would agree. Howard, I have a sneaking suspicion you would really like Freerun.
Okay.
It is a gorgeously animated one, very, very solid.
Excellent.
Have you heard of that one, Howard?
I've not.
I read a little bit of that one when I was doing some research for Yumi the Nightmare Painter, and it was really good.
Okay.
I'm not an anime person, but I like stories that are good of all.
Yeah, right.
And it was, I think, the highest caliber manga I've ever read.
Wow.
Yeah, and I haven't read a ton, but I think it was.
Yeah, Freerun Beyond Journey's End, for those who don't know the exact title, it's amazing.
Fantastic.
Both manga and the anime side. However, I saw a good question from the chat, which is, Brandon, what is your favorite piece of Howard's? And Howard, what was the hardest part of that piece?
All right.
What's my favorite Howard piece? I really do love your planes that I put in the cube.
Yeah.
I think it's just one of the most beautiful planes. I think, though, the princess in the tower is maybe, what is it, Trapped in a Tower?
Trapped in a Tower. Yeah.
I think that one's really good. It has that fairy tale aspect to it. I'd have to look at them all and see. But the one that pops to mind is Trapped in the Tower. So maybe you should talk about that one.
You know, that set, Cynthia Shepard was the art director on that set. And I think it was the first set that she art directed the concept push, and then also, you know, was in charge of the assignments in that. And I was fortunate that she knew my work well enough that she emailed me kind of ahead of time and said, I think you're really going to want to jump in and do some paintings on this set. And so I got a little bit of a head start. And that one in particular, so that world, that setting was all kind of based in Western fairy tale. And they gave little spins to everything. So like in that set, I did a crystal slipper, you know, obviously with Cinderella. And this one was clearly Rapunzel. The most challenging part of that was probably the hair. I mean, the hair is such an important part of the flow of that piece, but making her hair look believable and flowing out that long. And then the perspective gets a little bit challenging, you know, when you go up into the air like that, kind of that hot air balloon view of the world, trying to put her in this very tall tower. Brandon, that's looking really good. So yeah, that is one of the favorite things that I've done for Magic. So that makes me happy that card resonated with you.
Cool. I never knew that. That's really interesting.
I did an altar of that card for Brandon, actually.
Oh.
And turned the woman in that into Tress. And that was really fun to do. I felt like it was
Very
kind of
nice.
fitting.
That's awesome. I love it. Another interesting question is someone was asking that someone was saying they have aphantasia, the ability to see images in their mind. How important is visualization in your art/process?
I love that question, and it's something that I have had discussions with other artists with quite a bit. So there's kind of a test that's become, I don't know, famous, but known anyways, and it's like visualize an apple. Do you see nothing, or do you see a fully rendered apple, or do you see just a shape of it? You know, kind of, there's like 5 stages of the apple that you can see. I see nothing.
Really?
I have a terrible ability to visualize in my head until I kind of start describing it and working it through and going through a process. And then I would say that it's more of a feeling for me than a visual that I have. But I've never been able to just like picture something in my head and then start drawing it. But I've heard other artists talk about that is absolutely how they work. So yeah, I do not visualize things well. I kind of have to work through it. It feels a little more of like a thought exercise, and then you throw some emotion in there of like, oh, I know I want it to feel like warm and bright and happy, and I know what that looks like, or, you know, sad and cold and dark, you know, those sorts of things. And that's how I develop images.
Interesting. And this is, again, coming from a non-artist, but with some idea of color theory, does that help kind of bring it to life? Or are you just using some of those principles?
Yes, definitely. Just kind of knowing how people respond to different colors. Like earlier you asked me about my favorite color, orange, and just kind of how like it makes me feel. And I think that it's different across cultures, but I think that as our kind of media and that has become more globalized, that
they have to use my lines. I just want this to be stars.
You want stars?
I want stars.
You can, you can just indicate. You can do little dots even of all the stars, and Carly will run with that.
This is probably too much work on this one.
This one was an effort.
A little too much work. So
I think it's great.
Yeah. So we're gonna give.
Well done.
We'll do Esther's very easy when we get to hers.
Okay. Now, Caitlin Her focus is dragons. She
Okay.
loves dragons. She's she does them beautifully, and she kind of works in this Art Nouveau style.
Okay.
She's calling it Draco Nouveau, and just does such a beautiful job. So that's you can see from her selections.
That she likes dragons.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Oh, there's some more. You guys.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
I got you, boss.
Donald.
Perfect.
Okay. All right. Do they have a question for me?
Let's see. Chat, if you have any questions. It's been a little slower on that end. Although, Brandon, the same question could be asked to you. How do you see images in your mind? Or if you do it
I have very distinct images. in my
Okay.
head.
Fascinating.
You say picture an apple, and it's not just an apple, it's an apple on a table.
Like turn it around.
Right. I
Yes.
could turn it around. It's like, yeah.
Like right now,
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
I get nothing. I could paint it.
To the point that it's interesting, like, and this might be a strength to me, I don't know. There are lots of writers who have aphantasia, and it's
Yeah, yeah.
perfectly acceptable. I mean, lots of great writers, but
Right.
every scene I write in my book, I could draw it if
Yeah,
I had
yeah.
the skill,
Yeah.
and I know exactly where every person is. I know what everything exactly looks like.
I love that.
And things like that. So, and to the point that sometimes people draw it, and I'm like, oh, you've got it room reversed or stuff like
Yeah,
that. You know,
yeah.
like, yeah. Very, very detailed and whatnot.
That's amazing. Yeah, I can't relate to that.
Gotcha. One of the questions I did see, which this one will be for Howard. How did you decide, or how did these people decide what to pitch to Brandon? I see a lot of these are a lot of them are Magic cards, but where did that come from?
You mean, so like if I'm doing something for the Cosmere?
Sorry, for the list of like what Donato is doing, what Esther is doing.
I just asked each of the artists, I said, send me 3 cards that you would be interested in painting, and then we'll let Brandon choose from them. Because I didn't want to come in and say, Brandon, draw this. So I felt like it was better to at least give some options for Brandon to choose from.
Gotcha. Super duper fair.
Yeah.
I see a couple people talking about the illustration book. Oh, duh, I know what we're talking about on this. Can we talk anything at all about
The book that he's illustrating?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm fine talking about it.
Okay.
So for years, people have been asking us if I would ever do picture book versions of Hoyd stories. And it's something that I had wanted to do from the day that I wrote most of
Yeah.
these stories. And so we eventually got to the point where we could do it. And it's been several years now that we've recruited you onto this.
Yeah.
And Howard is doing a picture book version of The Dog and the Dragon.
Yeah.
What was my, do you remember, what I told you to do with it and things like that?
Well, I feel like I should remember those words. So the book is not, even though it's a Cosmere story, it's being done in a way that I think, we're going to make the audience, it's going to be a little bit broader beyond the Cosmere. in
Right.
terms
Yours
of the imagery.
In specific, we said, let's do this as if you were painting this for a general audience.
Yeah.
And some of the others, like Steve Argyle's doing Wandersail, we're not separating that.
Right.
He'll have some pictures of Kaladin and Hoyd and the story being told.
Right.
And you, I said, you initially came up with that same idea, and I said, yours I would really like is if it worked as a picture book.
Right.
For just kids who have never read a Stormlight book. And so it doesn't start with Hoyd or anything. It is the story of the dog and the dragon.
It's such a great story. I think that so many people that are, fans of Stormlight Archive find this story fairly emotional. As they've made a connection to Kaladin and knowing what this story means in that connection between Hoyd and Kaladin. And I'm in that camp, and so I was so excited that I get to illustrate this story. And then as we started talking about making sure that it had that kind of broader general appeal, my mind, of course, turned to Scott Gustafson, who I mentioned at the beginning, who is one of my heroes, who I think is, one of the greatest children's book illustrators, alive and working today. And so some of the sensibilities of the choices that I make are heavily influenced by Gustafson and my love for his work. And I have a great love of Arthur Rackham as well, who was a British children's book illustrator, and so you may see some of those influences in there as well. But my goal is to create as beautiful of a book as I can.
It's so far what I've seen is just gorgeous.
I will have, by the time I am done with this book, I will have painted more dragons for you than I ever did for Dungeons and Dragons over about 10 years. So that's very exciting.
So it's all the same dragon.
It's all the same dragon, but I'll take it. But then I also have dragon and tress. That I
That's
got to
true.
illustrate too.
Yeah.
So it's adding up.
Fair enough. Brandon, I did see a question for you, which is, there are always a lot of Vin and Kaladin cosplayers. Who would you like to see cosplayed more, if there is anyone in particular?
I get asked this, and these days I can't really think of it. Like, I like whatever people are passionate about. And so, like, whatever you feel like doing, I want to see. I do like the very clever ones, where, like, when people come as the stick or things like that. And then not just... there was someone who dressed like completely in brown and wrapped themselves up and looked like a stick. And that was pretty cool.
It's ambitious. I'll have to say it is one of the more satisfying aspects of going to Nexus is seeing people dressed up as Tress characters.
Yeah.
I love that, especially when they're kids. That kids come in that have read the book and they love it and they want to come as one of the characters. Oh, that is so cool to see.
Yeah, I agree. Speaking of costumes, since it is Halloween, Howard, do you have a favorite Halloween costume you've ever done? Or any iconic ones that stand out to you through the years?
You know what? So I'm going to. I've never been great about dressing up, but one year, and I'm wearing part of the costume now. One year, my wife and I was Bob Ross and she was a Happy Tree, and she did a really great job with her costume, and that was a fun one to go as. I had a friend in high school, Rob Foster. He would go all out with his costumes, and it made it kind of intimidating. His costumes were always so good. I'm like, why do I even want to dress up when I'm going to be with him? But he made one where he took an old outdoor backpack and he built a scaffold onto it that his costume was probably 16 feet tall, this big kind of ogre creature, and the hands had big sticks coming down from it. And so he showed up at high school in this costume. He couldn't even fit into the doors to the classroom to get into class, but he was like walking around campus. He looked like a giant mystic from the Dark Crystal, that kind of character. That's probably one of the coolest costumes I've ever seen, just for the scale and effort that went into it.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's looking good, Brandon.
Brandon, what's going through your mind? Why length? Why did we go vertical on this one?
Because this is a spirit dragon leaving the body of a dragon, an ancient dragon who has passed away.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Are both wings in there, or are you still going to do the...
No, the wing's down.
Okay, right. So one wing's going down.
The other's hidden behind the body.
Okay.
Right?
All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right, jumping back into
the bottom of that wing in there.
Which one, down here?
Yeah, where it ends. Or I guess maybe it's fading out because it's a spirit. Yeah.
It's ghostly.
It's ephemeral.
There's no bottom to the wing.
Okay.
There's no bottom to the feet either.
Yeah.
Right?
I got to remember that when I'm don't want to do the feet. Be like, it's a spirit.
Interesting. This begs the question, Howard,
Good.
do you have a favorite dragon?
All right. So,
Yes, the dragon from the Dragon Slayer movie.
oh, yeah?
That dragon, oh my gosh, it's so good. I did also love the dragons in Dragon's Lair.
Oh, yeah?
The Dawn Blue.
Dawn Blue
I
Bennett,
thought that was
yes.
a great dragon. But yeah, Dragon Slayer, I think that dragon is just killer.
This is how I got it confused. Lord of the Pit is on both of theirs.
Oh, yeah.
So my favorite dragon, Michael Whalen on the cover of which one is it? It's one of the Melanie Ron books. It's the one
Right.
where there's the figure and there's the dragon rising behind him. It's like the third or fourth one. It's not Sky Bull. It's
I'm
yeah.
pretty sure I know exactly.
That's
which illustration
my
you're
favorite
talking
dragon
about. It's got a
ever.
beautiful gradient in the sky. Yeah,
All right, so I guess I have to do the One Ring.
right. So
Right, it's
at least-
Donato.
Yeah,
I'll give him the One Ring.
you'll go back to Lord of the Rings.
I'll go back to Lord of the Rings.
And it's going to be a quick one.
But I made him do a hand last time, didn't I?
He did, yeah, the hand on the map.
So I think we have to do this time, like the ring being held, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah. Okay.
the snowfield.
So like
It's like
a hand out. How do you?
no,
want?
no. It's like it's on the chain.
Oh yes.
So we're gonna do. I'm just gonna get the scene.
Perfect. And while you pull that up, on that same question, have you had a favorite dragon you've been able to design, Howard?
Well, the dragon in Tress, that was a lot of fun to design for sure. You know, I did do a couple dragons for D&D that I thought was really fun. That it was really fun to do because they weren't fighting any creatures. They just wanted me to depict the dragons, and so I depicted one drinking water out of a lake, and the other one chasing down an elk. And I thought it was cool. I enjoyed kind of taking like a National Geographic approach to dragons. Like they're out in their natural habitat. They can't always eat fattening knights and, high carb princesses. They have to get some normal food in there every once in a while. And so that was a lot of fun.
What about One Ring in the snow?
Yeah. That's a
Right?
great shot.
Right, and then you get some little figures in the background.
In Donato, you can do some mountains in
Yep,
there. This will be a great one. For
All right,
you to
I'm
do.
just gonna. I think I can just take this.
You
and
got
go.
this one.
Yeah.
You got this one. So yeah, that was fun to do dragons like that.
Cool.
Made me want to do like a field guide for dragons.
That'd be fun. That'd be fun. I'm just peeking into chat real quick to see if we've got any questions. While I'm looking, has there been a favorite page you've had working on in the Dog and the Dragon?
I guess I can describe the scene. Yeah. So there are multiple shots that I'm very excited to paint that I've already drawn. I've already done the color. All the color work is done. Now it's just rendering. But there's a shot where the dog has gone out exploring, and it leads up to this moment where he looks up and he sees the dragon in the clouds up above him, and there's sunlight coming through the dragon's wings.
I think that's the one I showed.
That's the one
Yeah.
you showed. So I figured I could,
Yeah.
be fair game to talk about that one. That one, the reason that it was available to show, it was because I'm like, ooh, I need to paint this one. This kind of establishes the book and the look and the feel. And that piece is about probably 70% done. I'm still refining it and doing a pass on it to make it hit the mark that I'm aiming for. But yeah, that was a really fun one to do.
I forgot to make this elliptical because we're looking at it from the side.
Ah, yes. Ellipses are hard.
Yeah.
That's fair. Howard, have you ever done any other work on picture book stuff?
Yeah, I did. I've only done one other picture book. It's called The Christmas Doll, and it was a neat one to do because it was telling part of the story of Gail Miller's childhood. And Gail Miller, if you don't know that name, she was married to Larry Miller, who was the owner of the Utah Jazz and a ton of businesses around Utah. And she's really an extraordinary woman, one of the kindest people that I've had the privilege of associating with. And so I got to meet her and interview her and, of course, work with the author of the book and illustrate that for her. So yeah, that book is out there, but that's the only other picture book that I've done. I love picture books. One of my big influences growing up was Maurice Sendak, and of course his book Where the Wild Things Are. My drinking mug, my drinking bottle that I have at home is covered in Where the Wild Things Are stickers. Max is one of my favorite characters. But so I'm really thrilled to do children's books. I hope you figure out a way, Brandon, to do more children's books in the future and incorporate them into your stories. Yeah, this really is another one of those. I felt like Tress was kind of a once-in-a-lifetime project. The latitude that was given, and this story, too, is another one that I'm like, well, I don't know if I'll do something like this again. This is fantastic.
Fair enough. There you go. Looking at the comments, the picture books will be coming out. We haven't officially announced any dates.
Early next year.
Yep.
You'll know more at Nexus.
Correct. Thank you, Brandon. That's exactly what I was going to say. For those of you who are just joining in, Howard, will you just give a quick brief of what we're actually doing for the new viewers?
So Brandon is drawing like magic cards, kind of in that format.
Yep.
And these are going to be, this is going to be good. So Donato won't be able to complain about having to stay within the lines. You
Yes.
left enough ambiguity.
I left some ambiguity.
In there with some detailed areas. This will be very good. But at the Nexus, we are going to be, I say we, it's Steve Argyle, Kari Christensen, Brian Taylor, myself, Dan Dos Santos, Carly Milligan, Caitlin Zupanik, Donato, and Esther Kandari. We are going to be painting over the top of Brandon's drawings and staying true to Brandon's line work. And then these will be auctioned off through the Lightweaver Foundation to raise money for the various charities that the foundation works with. So we're excited to do it. It's a good project and a good cause.
Yeah. Cool.
So this one we're going to do something odd also. We're going to do Sack from as a bird of paradise. So it's going to be a raven.
Love it.
Though she added some color to Sack, her version of Sack, because this is Esther who did Six of the Dusk, did the Isles of the Emberdark. So she said bird of paradise. I'm not going to try an angel. So it was either a lotus cobra or it was a very cool crow. And we're going to do a very cool crow as a bird of paradise.
Love it.
Awesome.
Sack may not be extremely colorful, but if I wanted a mana bird, then perhaps I would pick a raven.
And if you want to kind of see what we did here last year, I'm sure on the Lightweaver Foundation site, you can find images and video of what we did last year, and that will give you an idea of where these are going.
Sack isn't quite a raven because, the birds, the AVR, are more parrot-like, but Sack isn't supposed to fit in, so.
Perfect.
Perfect indeed.
So my granddaughter is in Japan right now with her mom and dad, and there's been a lot of crows over there, and she has been mimicking the crows.
Oh, yeah?
Called to her, yeah.
Well, looking back into the chat,
and this is the last of the pictures, so we're almost done. Thanks for sticking with us, those who hung out with chat. I know this part, watching me draw, is not why you maybe come to a chat, but these are going to be fun for...
this will be great.
Yeah.
I think people are going to get a real kick into this.
So you're free to ask me some questions now, if there were any. But if there haven't been any, then everybody, I hope you have a wonderful Halloween.
Safe and fun Halloween.
Yep. I don't know why you might have chosen to come hang out with us instead, but we're glad to have provided that opportunity for you.
Yeah. The big one I saw for you, Brandon, was what's the scariest scene you've ever written, in your opinion?
Scariest scene? It is actually probably the scene that led up to Dog and the Dragon, because I knew what a certain character was going through before he got told that story. And so, yeah. This is clouds.
Clouds.
Up so high that there's clouds underneath.
What's Sack sitting on?
Stone.
On? Okay.
Some stone outcropping.
Is there a sun or a moon in the scene?
Sure. Let's do a moon.
All right.
Let's do a moon. A raven at night.
I love it.
Have to. So.
Awesome. Brandon, do you imagine your character's voices as Michael Kramer / Kate Redding's voice, or have you made up your own?
Some of them start becoming Michael Kramer and Kate Redding. Right now, like for instance, Wayne fully made the transformation, but other characters don't. And this is partially some of the voices from Michael and Kate I associate close to Wheel of Time characters. Mm-hmm. And others I've just had in my head so long. But though I picture things very distinctly, I don't always imagine voices as distinctly. So I would say that the audiobook narrators do kind of slowly become that. It's hard, though, because I can never pull Michael Kramer completely out, as good as he is.
Yeah.
Because I always see Michael, who is a guy I now know, telling me the story.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than the various characters. I've got like someone... I've got like, how a parent reads a book to you.
Yeah,
I see Michael, I see Kate a little bit in my head when I'm listening. So
Fair enough.
That's cool.
All right, I think we're going to wrap with that. Any last words?
No, hey, thank you, everybody. I hope this was fun. If you didn't see my costume at the beginning, check the VOD. It's pretty amazing. We had a wonderful person make those for us. And I'm going to go get some candy.
Love it.